Good evening, everyone. My name is Professor Scalar, and I'll be your tour guide for this expedition. Hopefully, you've all signed your waivers because if anything occurs to you while we're down here, we at SMC are not to be held responsible. Moving along, though, to the left, you'll be able to see a room filled with infectious fog. And now, if you look to the right, you'll see another room filled with even more infectious fog. And up ahead of us, you might not believe it, but you'll have the rare opportunity to see a gigantic room filled with infectious fog. Hello everyone, Professor Scalar here, and welcome to the alternate R6B2 level guide. As always, we're starting off with your loadout, and today that is going to consist of a biotracker, a mine deployer, a C-foam launcher, and then any sentry of your choice. The reason why I like to take a biotracker to this level is that there is a fair amount of infectious fog from start to finish, which can make it a little awkward to deal with the enemies, whether it's just making our way through the zones initially and stealth killing the enemies could serve ammunition, or while dealing with them during the alarms and we're working on those scans. So having a biotracker, that way we could just tag the enemies, or if we're just sneaking through, giving callouts to our teammates so we know roughly where everything is positioned at, can make things quite a bit easier. When it comes to the mine deployer and the C-foam launcher, these are going to be the primary means of doing with pretty much every single one of the alarm doors in this level. Lots of doors we could shut mine and C-foam to just make things a whole lot easier for our teammates. There are also going to be a few blood doors in this level, even more so if we go for the secondary objective, so being able to just place one or two mines on those doors and letting them deal with most of the enemies right away can make it a whole lot easier to deal with them. And then lastly, when it comes to that sentry, this is just to give us a little bit of extra firepower. Like I said, mines and C-foam are going to be doing a lot of work in this level, but it never hurts to have another sentry with you just to give you a little bit of extra firepower for alarms, or if you wake up scouts, or just a room with a lot of enemies in it. So feel free to take whichever one you think would be best for you and your teammates, and you should be good. Dropping down into the level, you'll see that your main objective is to collect a DNA sample from a specific HSU, which will always be located somewhere inside of Zone 64. Meanwhile, you and your teammates will be starting off inside Zone 57. In here, not really a whole lot to take note of, just some enemies and resources, as well as some fog repellers, which I highly recommend you grab as many of those as you possibly can, as throughout this level, you will have to deal with infectious fog, so those repellers will help out tremendously. As for you and your teammates and what you want to do, it's really up to you. There's two different security doors you actually have access to at the current moment, one to the west to Zone 58 and one to the east to Zone 59, which Zone 59 is ultimately where we have to go to continue on with the rest of our objective, but Zone 58 is a free optional resource zone, just simply a full team scan tied to the door itself, and in that zone there will be some enemies, small boys, as well as a few giant strikers, as well as a scout patrolling about, but that's really all there is to it. So if you and your teammates are a little bit newer to the game, or you just want to play it safe, feel free to head over there first, grab those resources, and once you take care of everything in there, then come out, go to the eastern security door to Zone 59, which has a Class 4 alarm tied to it, and then set up your defenses. And as you can see with this map overlay, there are a few different locations enemies could possibly spawn from. There's an additional spawn location that opens up if you open that resource zone, but it doesn't really change up much in the grand scheme of things, so not that big of a deal. As for you and your teammates, you're just going to want to shut every single one of the doors I've highlighted, and then the two doors that lead directly into your room, go on ahead and mine both of them, but you might as well wait to see which door they're going to take before you C-foam it, as there is a chance they will only come from one of those two routes and not both of them. Once you finish this alarm and all the enemies are dead, you can pack up your sentry and any mines that might not have gone off, then head into Zone 59 itself. Which in here, again, not really a whole lot to it, just a few more rooms to go through, more enemies to deal with, a little bit of infectious fog in that first area, and at the far eastern side of it, you'll find a security door to Zone 60. This door is going to have a Class 3 alarm tied to it though, and as you can see with this map overlay, there's only one possible spawn location for these enemies, and only one route they're going to take to get to you, which is this door right here that I have highlighted. So go on ahead, shut that door, mine it, and C-foam it, and if you want to, also place your sentry in the room facing towards it somewhere, and you should be good. Just like before, once all the scans are done, deal with any of the enemies still left alive, pack up your sentry, and then go into Zone 60 itself. Which Zone 60 is going to be completely covered in infectious fog, but in here there will never be any enemies you have to deal with. So just use some fog repellers. There's a terminal in the first room which you can use to ping the keycard in this area, which is ultimately what you need. Once you have it and anything else you want to grab though, you can then leave this area and then backtrack all the way to Zone 57 again and go to the northern end of it where you'll find the security door to Zone 61. This security door is going to be a blood door, so once you plug the key card into it, just have a mine on the door and you should be good. Open it up, fall back a little bit, let the mine do most of the work for you, and then just kill anything that does happen to survive. Once you are done, you can then head into Zone 61 itself. In here, there won't be any other enemies you really have to deal with aside from the ones from the blood door, so just go throughout it, grab the resources in here as there are usually a fair amount of them, and at the western end of it, you'll find a security door to Zone 62. This door is just going to have a checkpoint scan tied to it, nothing else, so finish that. And Zone 62 is really not all that special either. There will be a little bit of infectious fog, more enemies for you to deal with, more resources to grab, but that's about it. At the far western side of it though, you'll find a security door to Zone 63, this door just simply having a full team scan tied to it, and Zone 63 is pretty much going to be your central hub room. In here, there is going to be your bulkhead door control as well as the doors to your main and secondary objectives, as well as an additional security door to Zone 65, which is going to have a Class 4 alarm tied to it. And as you can see with this map overlay, enemies are going to be spawning far out to the east. 3 different rooms they could potentially spawn from, each room having its own door that they'll go through in order to get out of it. So go on ahead and shut, mine, and if you want to, C-foam all 3 of these doors. You don't really have to C-foam all of them. If you do, you might run a little bit low later, but these doors could actually be utilized for another upcoming alarm. But once you have all that set up, you can then have your sentry somewhere in the room facing towards that eastern open security door, and then you and your teammates would just go over to the western door, throw some fog repellers throughout the room, activate the alarm, get to work on the scans, and once everything has been taken care of, you can then go back over there, pack up your sentry, and then even if some of those mines did not go off, just go on ahead and leave those on the doors, as again, like I said, they could be utilized for a later alarm. Once you got everything though, you then head to Zone 65. In here, more enemies for you to deal with, more resources to grab, more infectious fog you have to make your way through, and somewhere inside of the zone will be your very first bulkhead key. So go throughout it, deal with everything. Once you've gotten the key and the resources and all the enemies are dead, go back out into Zone 63, go to the bulkhead door control, then you just plug a key into it, and at this point we are going to be dividing up a little bit, as some of you are going to be going for the secondary objective, and some of you might just simply be doing a main objective only run, in which case those of you who are doing a main only run and you don't want to see anything involving the secondary objective, just jump to the timestamp that you see on screen. There we'll continue to talk about Zone 64, how to get the HSU, and make your way safely to extraction. For everybody else though, we are doing the secondary scan and unlocking the bulkhead door to Zone 223, which is just going to have a checkpoint scan tied to it. So go over there, do that scan. Afterwards, the bulkhead door will automatically open up and we could get to work on our secondary objective. Alright, secondary objective time. So upon stepping into Zone 223, you'll see that your secondary objective is to find 2 specific terminals and create uplinks with both of them. One of these terminals will always be inside Zone 224, the other will always be located inside Zone 225. As for Zone 223 itself, this just consists of 2 fairly big rooms. In these rooms, more enemies to deal with, more resources to collect, but that's about it. At the western side and the eastern side of the second room, you'll be able to find the 2 security doors to 224 and 225, and both of these security doors are going to be blood doors. So go on ahead and just go over to whichever one you feel like. I usually just go to Zone 224 first, place a mine on that blood door, open it up, fall back a bit. Same thing as before, mine deals with most of the enemies, then you just simply shoot and kill the remaining ones, and then you could go into Zone 224 itself. This zone is fairly small, it's just 3 simple rooms. In here, there's not going to be any sleeping enemies whatsoever, but there will be a fair amount of resources to collect, and of course, that uplink terminal that you need. And as you can see with this map overlay, this zone, because of how small it is a little bit interesting when it comes to the uplink. Because uplink enemies cannot spawn outside the zone that the uplink terminal itself is in, they have to spawn 1 room away from you as there's no viable 2 room away spawn. Which really isn't all that big of a deal as we have a mine deployer and a C-foam launcher. So what I like to do is, as you can sort of see the map, just have these 2 doors shut and mine both of them, and then just wait to see which room they spawn from first, and then just go over to it, C-foam that door, and then you can either just let the enemies break it down naturally, or you could just keep C-foaming it over and over again. The person on the terminal will have to deal with 4 different codes, which isn't all that much, but it will take them a little bit of time to deal with it. And yeah, you just have to do your best to defend and keep them alive. Once you finish this uplink, you can then head out of the zone, go to the far eastern side to the security door to Zone 225, place a mine on it, open it up, deal with any of the enemies that do survive, and then just do the same thing all over again. Zone 225 is a bit bigger than Zone 224, although, again, there will be no sleeping enemies in here whatsoever, just more resources to collect. And as you can see with this map overlay, there are a few different locations enemies could possibly spawn from when it comes to this uplink. So all you really need to do is make sure every single one of the doors I have highlighted are shut, and then the only 2 that you need to mine are these 2 right here that lead directly into your room, and then same thing as before, wait to see which door they're going to go for first, then you can run over to it, C-foam it a little bit, and just keep enemies out for however long you want to. Keep in mind, you do not have to keep enemies out until you finish all 4 of the codes, because the more tool you spend here by C-foaming the doors over and over again, the less you're going to have of it for the rest of the main objective. And believe me when I say there are going to be a lot of different doors you might want to at least mine and maybe C-foam. So try not to splurge too much on your tool refill, especially when it comes to this uplink, as it's really not all that difficult to defend against. Either way though, once you have finished this second uplink, your secondary objective is completed. All you need to do now at this point is, if you haven't already, grab the bulkhead key, which will either be inside zone 224 or zone 225, and once you have that second bulkhead key, as well as any resources you might have left behind, you then just go back out into zone 63, go to the bulkhead door control, plug your key into it, and do the scan for the main objective, and that will unlock the security door down to the south to zone 64. We then head over there, and we can continue on with the rest of our main objective. Okay, so continuing on with the last bit of the main objective. We have just now unlocked the security door to zone 64, however, this door is going to have a class 4 alarm tied to it. And as you can see with this map overlay, there's a lot of different locations enemies could possibly spawn from. Now, if you didn't go for the secondary objective, you could completely ignore that northern spawn, as that will not even be open up, but you still have to worry about enemies coming from the west and the east. Now, as for how you're going to want to set up for it, I've labeled every single one of the doors that is involved with this alarm, but you don't really have to mine and C-foam every single one of them. I would recommend make sure that no matter what, all those doors are shut, and if you can get a mine on every single one of them, that is good. As for your C-foam, well, there's not really any point later on in this level where C-foam helps out that much, so if you want to, you can either C-foam some of the doors out there, or maybe just place C-foam all over the security doors that actually lead into your room. As for your sentry, you kind of just place it towards one of the 3 open security doors, or just hold on to it and maybe place it down while you're working on the scans. This really just comes down to what type of sentry you brought with you, as some of them can be deployed and shoot fairly quickly, while other sentries, like the sniper sentry, takes a little bit more time to actually start shooting at enemies once it's been placed down. Either way though, this alarm isn't all that difficult as long as you have a fair amount of resources and fog repellers, so set up however you see best fit with the resources you have on hand, and once you're good to go, activate the alarm, work on the scans, and once all of them are finished, just deal with any enemies still left alive, and then go out and pack up any of the mines that did not explode, as you will be wanting them for a little bit later. Then once you and your teammates are good to go, you can then open up the security door to zone 64 and head into there. As for zone 64, there's going to be a few different rooms in here, a fair amount of enemies, smalls and bigs, as well as another scout patrolling about, and there's going to be a decent amount of resources for you to collect, the HSU, which you need that DNA sample from, and there's even going to be a disinfect station. So if you and your teammates have gained a fair amount of infection up to this point in the level, you can just get rid of all of it at that disinfect station, which will allow you to heal up a little bit better. And all you really need to do after you've cleared out the entirety of the zone is just find out where that HSU is, initiate the full team scan tied to it, and once you finish the full team scan, your main objective is completed, and now you just have to make it to extraction. The thing is though, this level is going to be a forward extraction, so you have to go through a few more zones, and of course, there's going to be an extraction alarm that initiates once you finish that HSU's full team scan. Now, this extraction alarm doesn't spawn in all that enemies. I think it's only about 3 or 4 enemies roughly every 30 or so seconds. It's not all that difficult. So once you finish a scan, you're going to want to quickly make your way out of the zone, blasting your way through any of the enemies that get in your way. And then once you get back out into zone 63, go to the western side into zone 65 and go to the far western end of it, where you'll find a security door to zone 66. This security door earlier was in lockdown, but now that you've gotten the HSU scan done, this is just simply going to be a full team scan. So get to the door, do the full team scan, open it up, and then go into zone 67. In there, there's not really a whole lot of enemies, although there will be a few of them, but you're just going to go into the first room and go down below into the infectious fog, completely ignore that other side room to the west. You do not need to go into there. You just go down into the infectious fog with the fog repellers, and down there you'll find a security door to zone 67, which is going to be a blood door. So just place 1 or 2 mines on that door, open it up, fall back a little bit. Not all that many enemies spawn from this blood door, so even 1 mine can more often than not kill every single one of the enemies. And once they are dead, you just quickly rush through, take a right, go through the small door there, just continue going into that room, then take a left. And once you get into that room, you'll be able to find your extraction scan at the back end of it. And that's really all there is to it. You just simply shut those doors behind you, maybe mine them or C-foam them if you still have a few left over, get to the extraction scan, place down your sentry, and you just have to hold out for a little bit. And once you get the scan to 100%, you are done and you have completed alternate R6B2. And that's all there is to it. Alternate R6B2 is the first level of the rundown with an optional objective in it. And all things considered, it's not the roughest B tier mission out there, but it's definitely not the easiest of the bunch. You'll have to manage a few different alarm doors from start to finish, a fair amount of infectious fog everywhere, but with some careful planning, preparation, and good utilization of fog repellers, you'll be home free in no time at all. As always though, thank you for watching this video all the way to the very end. I do hope that it was able to provide you with some assistance in beating this level. If you have any tips or tricks to this level that you want to share, any questions for me, or you just have something in general that you would like to say, please do let me know down in the comments. Hit that like button if you enjoyed the video, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from me, and if you want to join my lovely community, there's a link to my Discord down in the description, as well as some other links you might be interested in. Among those links being one to the official GTFO merch store, which, as always, I highly recommend you check out if you're a fellow GTFO enthusiast and you're looking to pick up some sweet merch. Until next time, the month of December and the Christmas season are right around the corner, so time to bring out all that holiday cheer, and hopefully, I'll see all you wonderful people in the next video.